So the topic is Coccidia. They are the largest group of the Apicoplexan protozoan. They are considered generally what we are to discuss now, the organisms that we are to discuss now are considered opportunistic in immunocompromised and immunocompetent. So lahat ng di-discuss natin ngayon are just opportunistic organism. The disease is collectively known as coccidiosis. It is recognized as one of the major problems, not just in man, but also in animal and in zoo management. So they do not only infect intestinal tract of man, or other vertebrates, but also other phyla of invertebrates. So here they belong to the superkingdom Eukaryota under the phylum Apicoplexan and class Conoidacida, having that structure, the conoidal apex, now having this structure here at the apical end. No? So yeah, Conoidacida from based on their common morphology. The apical, they have an apical complex. So means their apical end, it's a complicated structure. So they derive the name of the phylum from the morphology of the organism. And so here, this particular genus is the one this genus over here are the one we're going to discuss. So this Apicoplexan group of organisms have a cluster of secretory organelles made up of rhoptries, microneme, polar rings with microtubules in some species, and with a conoid within the polar rings, at their ends. So here, species of Amerinia are commonly referred to as Coccidia. So these are the genera that we are to discuss this afternoon: Cryptosporidium, Cytoisospora, it's saying cyto, it's Cystoisospora, under Cryptosporidium, we have Cryptosporidium parvum and Cryptosporidium hominis. Cystoisospora, under that, Cystoisospora belli, formerly known as Isospora belli. And here, under Toxoplasma, we have Toxoplasma gondii, and we have the different Sarcocystis species, and Cyclospora cayetanensis, and Blastocystis hominis. So we'll try to discuss all these species this afternoon, and they're covering the life cycle, their clinical manifestation, their diagnosis, treatment, and prevention. So usually sa prevention, I no longer read the prevention. Most of the time these are self-explanatory, and common sense na lang the prevention. No? So yeah, for each organism, we discuss the life cycle, the morphology of the infective and definitive stage, clinical manifestation, diagnosis, and treatment. So this coccidian in general are intracellular parasites with no definite organelle of locomotion. So instead, they move through body flexion, gliding, or undulation of longitudinal ridges. Generally also, infection with this species is often affected by the immune status of the patient, rather than the virulence of the organism. In immune deficiency, the infection tends to be severe, but can be self-limiting among immunodeficient individuals. Self-limiting sa may mga intact immune system. For immunocompromised, immunodeficient, infection may range from asymptomatic to severe. So the life cycle. So we'll just discuss this life cycle as we discuss the individual species. But in general, no, the life cycle has 3 stages of development. No? So there is sporogony, schizogony, the sporogony producing the oocysts, the schizogony or merogony producing the merocytes. These are asexual stages of the life cycle, while the sexual is gametogony. Now, the sporogony, for some species, it happens in the environment. Or for most species of Coccidia, sporogony phase happens in the environment. For some species, sporogony happens within the body while still inside the body, such as Cryptosporidium, the genus Cryptosporidium. For Cryptosporidium, what is unique about them, in contrast with the other Coccidian, is that the sporogony phase happens within the body. So what is passed out through the feces are already sporulated oocysts. Kaya your sporulated oocyst is both a definitive and infective stage, no? But for most species, sporogony phase happens in the environment. So that is where, an immature oocyst is passed out, and in the environment, that's where it undergoes sporulation. While schizogony and gametogony for all coccidians, happens inside the body. Okay, so that's one differentiation. You might like to take note kung sino-sino yung mga species that undergoes sporulation outside and outside. So that's one variation in their life cycle. And another variation is, for some species, man is both. You have, for some species, both the asexual and asexual space, is that right? Wait. Both the asexual and asexual phase happens in the intermediate, happens in the definitive host, no? For some, iba, you have a different definitive host, or you have a different definitive and you have a definitive from intermediate host. So it's you have there, it's what is termed as heterocenous life cycle, no? For some, it's monocenous, so meaning both the asexual and asexual space, or the definitive and intermediate host, there's only one host for that. Also, that's another variation, and mga variation. But in general, the life cycle is like this, no? So you have, well, we can start anywhere in the cycle, but let's start with once you ingest an infective stage. So let's say a sporocyst is ingested. This sporocyst will travel down the intestinal tract to attach to the intestinal tract, and the intestinal tract, that oocyst, that mature oocyst, will develop into a sporozoites. Then the sporozoites will eventually become trophozoites, no? And these trophozoites will either become or develop into either type 1 merozoites or type 2 merozoites. The type 1 merozoites, this one is another variation. Type 1 merozoites are either capable of indefinite recycling, so meaning once they are formed, they attaches to an adjacent enterocytes and then undergo a sexual cycle again. No? So this is what we call recycling, no? Recycling of of the infection. So for some species, this is indefinite. For some species, they just undergo 1, 2, or 3 two or three times of recycling. No. Okay, some trophozoites, sabi ko, it's either will become type 1 or will become type 2 merozoites. The type 2 merozoites are the one fated to become gametocytes, no? So from undifferentiated gamete, no, this will be differentiated into female microgamete and male macrogamete. So the fertilization of these two will lead to a zygote. No? The zygote then will become an oocyst. No? So will become an oocyst. So this oocyst now will develop, this immature oocyst will eventually become mature and develop sporozoid. Becomes a sporocyst. Nakakalito yung mga cyst, no? Sporocyst. This is now the now you enter the sporogony phase. As I've said, some will develop spores outside of the body, some will develop spores inside the body. So that's the general idea of the life cycle of coccidia. I guess it's more or less also similar to other protozoan. Tama ba? So this developmental process can occur in the same host where man, by definition, is both intermediate and definitive host. So that is termed as monocynous organism. In some, this may take place in different hosts, no? So we term that as heterocynous, like in malarial parasites. As far as the species that we are discussing now, example of monocynous organism are Cryptosporidium, Isospora, and Eimeria. Those with heterocynous life cycle, yeah, you have examples. You have Toxoplasma and Sarcocystis. So for monocynous organism, they have only a single direct cycle of transmission, whereby both asexual and sexual stages of multiplication occur in a single host. No? While those heterocynous organism, sexual stages are usually in the intestinal mucosa of the carnivorous host, no, or the definitive host, resulting in an oocyst or sporocyst that passes out into the feces to infect an intermediate host where asexual multiplication occur. Asexual multiplication in the intermediate host, while the entire life cycle, the sexual and asexual multiplication happens in the within the definitive host. Okay. So somehow that's clear. Well, you might like to take note of the variation in their life cycle. So, but the general idea is there, no? So let's start with Cryptosporidium parvum. So this is first observed in the gastric mucosal crypts of lab mice by Kaiser in 1907. It causes diarrhea in animals. The first case in human was discovered in 1976. It causes frequent case of intractable diarrhea among immunocompromised. It does not only inhabit the small intestine and stomach, but it can also affect the appendix, the colon, rectum, it's the same, biliary tree, and even the pulmonary tree. So if can inhabit all this, if it can inhabit all these regions of the body, no? So you might expect gastroenteritis in the small intestine and colon, so you may have their and stomach, so you expect gastrointestinal manifestation. If it can affect the appendix, so this is clinically manifested as inflammation of the appendix. Then biliarity, you may have cholangitis or cholecystitis, and even pneumonia, no? It can affect the pulmonary tree. So the infective form is the oocyst. Infective form is the oocyst. So the life cycle, so here, okay, we first discussed the life cycle, and then the next one is the morphology of the different different stages of development. Now, so let's begin with ingest. So this is transmitted. So all that we are to discuss now, kanina sabi ko, are all affecting primarily immunocompromised and immunocompetent. And they are basically transmitted through oral ingestion of other contaminated food or contaminated water. And clinically, they all manifest as acute gastroenteritis, no? Probably with fever and diarrhea. No, so yeah, so that is common to all that we are to discuss now. So here, transmission is through ingestion of contaminated water or food, no? Infective stage for Cryptosporidium is the oocyst, huh? The sporulated oocyst. So you ingest that. This can be acquired through drinking water or contamination of water and food with oocyst. So that's how you get infected. Okay, you ingest that, and down the gastrointestinal tract, they well, they can settle anywhere, but more commonly in the small intestinal tract, no? Particularly I think jejunum, the more common site ng intestine, in the jejunum. So while in the gastrointestinal tract, the oocyst will develop into or the oocyst pala, not develop, the oocyst will release the sporozoites. Okay, and these sporozoites now, no, it will invade the intestinal crypts of oocyst, ito pala. Okay, oocyst releases the 4 sporozoites, and each sporozoites will develop. Well, first, they attach into the gastrointestinal epithelial cells. And in there, they develop into a trophozoites, while within a parasitophorus vacuole at the brush border of the intestinal tract. This parasitophorus vacuole is similar to a phagosome, which allows them to prevent or resist phagocytosis, no? From the release of phagolysosome enzyme. No? So that's their protective structure, no? So within that parasitophorus vacuole, the sporozoites develop into a trophozoites. Now the trophozoites will undergo or will enter the schizogony phase of the life cycle, wherein it can either become a type 1 meron or a type 2 meron. No? So the type 1 meron, sabi ko kanina, in general, this is responsible for recycling. No? The type 1 invades adjacent intestinal epithelial cells to repeat schizogony or recycling. In this case, in this species, the recycling is indefinite. Okay, for type 2 merons, I hope you follow me. Do you follow me so far? Huh?
Yes po, Doc.
Okay, the type 2 merons now are fated to enter the sexual phase of the life cycle. No? So type 2 merons will develop into, will release the merocytes, no? And become undifferentiated gamete, which will eventually be differentiated into a microgamete or macrogamete. Nasa sexual cycle na tayo ngayon, ha? So the fertilization of the micro and the macro will lead to yan, the formation of a zygote. So now, the zygote will later develop into an oocyst. So now we are entering the sporulation phase of the cycle. Sporogony phase, sporulation, sporogony phase. So it's a sexual cycle. We'll go back to a sexual cycle. No? So the zygote later develops into an oocyst. There are two types of oocysts from Cryptosporidium parvum, a thin-walled oocyst and a thick-walled oocyst. The thin-walled oocyst is the one responsible for autoinfection. So take note that sporogony phase or sporulation happens within the body. So kaya it's common for Cryptosporidium to have autoinfection. The thin-walled oocyst is the one mainly responsible for autoinfection. The thick-walled oocyst, most of the time, will be passed out from the feces. To contaminate the water and food. So once this contaminated food or water is ingested, with infection, of course, again. And then you have, again, the life cycle. Some thick-walled oocysts may also cause auto-infection. Okay, sana somehow that's more it's clearer to you. So here I want to emphasize that the oocyst, that the oocyst is both the infective and diagnostic stage of the organism. Are we good? So now we describe the morphology of the oocyst, the morphology of the trophozoites and the sporozoites. Okay, but before, what do we have here? During the invasion process, Cryptosporidium establishes a unique intracellular compartment. That's what I've been mentioning kanina, the parasitoporous vacuole within the host cells in which it divides. This unique compartment has been termed intracellular, but at the same time extracytoplasmic, since it appears to be separated from the apical host cell cytoplasm and bulges into the lumen of the gut, just like this. Parang ganon. It bulges out to the lumen of the gut. And you will note there an electron-dense bond separating the parasites from the host cell cytoplasm. Okay, so morphology of the trophozoites. So this measure 2 to 5 micrometer and are attached to the host cell membrane. So here, you have here the trophozoites. Trophozoites from the sporozoites. Then the schizone. The schizone or the merons, which came from the trophozoites. The type 1 merons are capable of recycling indefinitely. Immature ones contain the immature one contains 4 falciform merozoites, while the mature ones has 8, no? 8 falciform merozoites. Okay, from sporozoites, it will become a trovozoites, which will give rise to type 1 and type 2 meron. The immature type 1 meron has 4 falciform merozoites inside, while the mature ones has 8 falciform merozoites. Okay, so these are the one responsible for recycling. While the type, and look at the corresponding appearance on I think this is immunofluorescence, no? This is immunofluorescence, no? Okay, so those the corresponding actual images. No? While the type 2 merons, they contain also 4 falciform merozoites. Ayan. So these are the ones fated to become macro and microgamete. So for this one, siguro you just remember the morphology of the trophozoites and morphology of the merons and merozoites. No. So micro, and then you have the micro and macrogamete. The union of this will give rise to the oocyst. Oocyst. So the oocyst will undergo sporulation. No? So this is an oocyst with sporocytes inside. It is described as, so again, it's the infective and diagnostic stage. The morphology is described as spherical or oval, 5 microns in diameter, containing 4 sporozoites, but no sporocyst. 4 sporozoites, but no sporocyst. This is another variation when compared to other species wherein you have sporocyst inside the oocyst. From oocyst to sporocyst to sporozoites. But this one, from oocyst to sporozoites na kaagad. Does not stain with iodine, but instead, no, the most effective staining method is acid-fast staining or modified acid-fast staining. The thick wall may also cause autoinfection. They remain viable. The thick walled oocyst may also cause autoinfection, no, aside from being passed out to the environment. They remain viable for long periods of time. They are hard and resistant to most disinfectant and temperature higher than 60 degrees C. And they may even survive chlorinated water. Okay, so familiarize yourself with the morphology of the different stages of Cryptosporidium. So not just this, even in other organisms. Okay. So the disease is known as cryptosporidiosis. Cryptosporidiosis. It has a worldwide distribution. It's a common cause of diarrhea among travelers and patients of daycare center, more common among children than in adults. It can occur as waterborne infection or zoonotic infection. No? In man, these parasites inhabit the brush border of the mucosal epithelium of the stomach or the intestine, but they may also inhabit the gallbladder and pancreatic duct, and then the appendix, and even the gallbladder, pancreatic duct, biliary tree, the appendix, and the pulmonary tree. No? As mentioned, this is a monocinous organism which completes the sexual and asexual phases in a single host cell, no? Which is man being the intermediate and definitive host for this organism. Reservoir includes cattle, cats, and dog. So exposure or contamination with ingestion of contaminated meats of cattle, cat, and dog is a form of transmission. No? So transmission is ingestion of contaminated food and water. Waterborne is more common than food, and of course, it can be and auto-infection or transmission. So you know that na yung auto-infection from Cryptosporidium parvum. Incubation is 2 to 14 days, average of 7 days. Clinical manifestation, well, it depends on the immune status of the patient. For immunocompetent, no, infection may be just asymptomatic and self-limiting. Self-limiting sometimes with, it can be asymptomatic or self-limiting. But for some, it can have febrile illness with diarrhea, abdominal pain, nausea, and weight loss. But for immunocompromised, the infection may be chronic with persistent profuse diarrhea, weight loss, so from your diarrhea, you may have electrolyte imbalance, no? And eventually diarrhea and abdominal pain. As I've said, the symptoms are non-specific gastrointestinal infection, wherein you may have fever, diarrhea, vomit. So from abdominal pains, from profuse diarrhea, you may have electrolyte imbalance, which may lead to metabolic acidosis. No? So yan, sunod-sunod na yan if left untreated. Okay. The stool can be voluminous. You see that 1 to 25 liters per day. The biliary tract can involve and may cause right upper quadrant pain, cholangitis, and cholecystitis. So clinical manifestation, well, so if you have immunocompetent, ulitin ko naman, it can be asymptomatic to mild illness with diarrhea, fever, abdominal condition, vomiting. For immunocompromised, it can be chronic and severe with profuse diarrhea, electrolyte imbalance, and weight loss. So how do we diagnose? By examination of the stool through direct mouth or to direct wet mouth or fecal smear, revealing the colorless spherical oocyst with small and large granules. Revealing the colorless spherical oocyst with large granules. So, which can be stained with modified acid-fast stain, which is the method of choice, wherein the oocysts appear as red acid-fast, no, against a blue background. If oocysts are not easily demonstrable on stool exam, we could perform the Schiller sugar flotation and zinc sulfate flotation method. Or we may also do the duodenal string test, or the entero test may also be done to recover oocysts from the intestinal tract. Serological tests may also be performed, such as fluorescent staining with auramine phenol or acridine orange dye, and through indirect immunofluorescence as the definitive method of identification. Histopathological examination at the apical surface of the intestinal epithelium may also be performed. Serological test can also be done. Antibodies against parasites can be seen within 2 months of infection, of acute infection. So an increased titer during this phase. Antibodies may last for 1 year and seen using ELISA or immunofluorescence. So treatment. So for most people with intact immune system, the infection can just be self-limiting. Now, without any treatment, self-limiting typically within 2 to 3 weeks. But for immunocompromised and symptomatic patients, no, nitozosanide has approved for treatment of diarrhea in people with healthy immune system. Okay, but those with symptomatic or immunocompromised, this drug, nitozosanide, has been approved for treatment. However, its effectiveness among immunosuppressed is still unclear, but we give it nonetheless, no? Kesa sa wala kang ibigay. No? So nitozosanide, 500 milligrams twice a day for 3 days. Paromomycin, which is an antibacterial drug, no, can also be used to treat parasitic infection. You may use that. Antiretroviral therapy may also aid in the treatment, and of course, supportive management for fluid and electrolyte imbalance and nutrient replacement. There's no chemotherapy effective against this. And you have the prevention. Okay, for Cryptosporidium, the other species of Cryptosporidium is Cryptosporidium hominis, found mainly in humans. All stages of development are completed in the host cell. Oocysts are already infective when passed out. So you see they have similar character, both species have similar characteristic. It has a universal distribution with infection reported worldwide. Most epidemics are associated with water, usually infected or contaminated with cough, feces. In the Philippines, it has a prevalence rate of 2.6%. There was a study in San Lazaro that the study in San Lazaro that attempted to start Cryptosporidium among diarrheic patients and reported a prevalence rate of 8.5%. So another study in the PGH among diarrheic patients, prevalence is 1.7%. So this infection was not recognized prior to AIDS. Nosocomial infection have been reported when nosocomial infection have been reported among health workers caring for AIDS patients. The bile duct and gallbladder may become heavily infected and lead to acute gangrenous cholecystitis. Ito yung mini-mention ko also kanina, similar with parvo, no? The bile duct, and here you can also affect the bile duct and the gallbladder. You have a respiratory infection also, which may lead to chronic coughing, dyspnea, bronchiolitis, and pneumonia. The intestinal villi may become blunted and infiltrated with many inflammatory cells into the lamina propria and elongated crypts. And there may be varying degrees of malabsorption and excessive fluid loss. Death may occur in disseminated infection. Among immunocompetent, this infection may also be self-limiting, lasting for 2 to 3 weeks. Some with abdominal pain, anorexia, fever, nausea, and weight loss. But among immunocompromised, infection may be severe, progressive, and life-threatening. So you see, so the clinical manifestation, the morphology as well, the treatment as well is similar to Cryptosporidium parvum. Next genus, Cystoisospora belli. This is described by Rudolf Virchow, but was named only in 1923. This was first seen in troops in the Middle East during the First World War, more common in tropical and subtropical region. The other known species, Isospora hominis, no? The previously other known species, Isospora hominis, is now taxonomically grouped under Sarcosistis. So now there's only one species under this genera, the Cystoisospora belli. So the life cycle. Okay, so you have the general, well, it exhibits the general life cycle for coccidia. So transmission is the same through ingestion of contaminated water and food, no? But in this case, the infective stage is a mature oocyst. Well, it's still the same as with Cryptosporidium. It's oocyst, no? But this one, it's mature oocyst with sporozoites. It's the same infective stage. So you ingest that, it travels down the gastrointestinal tract where it will go existation. No? So when ingested via contaminated water or food, the oocyst exists in the small intestines, releasing the sporozoites. Now, schizogony phase begin. No? So once the sporozoites are released, schizogony phase will begin. So the sporozoites now will become again what? Trophozoites, and the trophozoites will develop into type 1 and type 2 meron. So it's more or less, the life cycle of this one is more or less similar to Cryptosporidium. You have the type 1 merozoites and the type 2 merozoites. The merozoites, some merozoites will infect new adjacent small intestinal epithelial cells, and the process of asexual reproduction in the intestines continue. So this is recycling. So this may continue for a few weeks or months, but some merozoites undergo gametogony. Now you enter the sexual phase of the cycle to produce macro and microgamete, forming a zygote. This zygote will eventually mature to form unsporulated oocysts. So take note, unsporulated oocysts. This is what is being passed out from the stool, no, of the host. So unsporulated oocysts. So in the environment, this unsporulated cyst will undergo sporogony. So another asexual cycle, no, of sporogony, wherein sporulation occurs 48 hours after stool passage. So do you recognize the difference of the life cycle of this one from the first one that we have discussed? Huh? Yes? No? O, tulog na kayo dyan. Ha? Isa lang ang nakita ko nakikinig, si Rebecca. Naka-on kasi yung camera niya. Hi, Rebecca. O. Siguro in 30 minutes lang tulog ka na din. If you turned off your camera, alam ko na ibig sabihin nun, ha? Well, that's okay. So you see here in this life cycle, the diagnostic stage is the immature, tama ba ako? It's the immature oocyst. No? It is what is being passed out from the stool. Or, it's the unsporulated oocyst pala. No, okay. So that is the diagnostic stage, the oocyst, particularly the unsporulated oocyst. No, so and while the infective stage is the mature oocyst with sporozoites. Immature oocyst, immature unsporulated oocyst, and the sporulate. Okay, so in short, the diagnostic stage, again, ulitin natin. The diagnostic stage is the unsporulated oocyst. The infective stage is the sporulated oocyst. So after it has undergone sporulation. So now let's describe the morphology of the oocyst. The oocyst is 20 to 30 micrometers by 10 to 19 micrometers. No, no. So here, ito na lang pala. So you can imagine it. Okay. The diagnostic stage is the unsporulated or immature oocyst. No, it may either have a single sporoblast or two sporoblasts like this one. Okay, sporoblast. Remember dun sa Cryptosporidium, oocyst with sporozoites but no sporoblast. For this one, you have the oocyst, the unsporulated oocyst, which will develop with two sporoblasts, with single or two sporoblasts, which later, no, when matured, will develop sporozoites inside the sporoblast. Now you have, so once sporozoites are formed, you now have a matured sporulated oocyst ready to infect another host. So the infective stage, when seen under the microscope, when observed, are described as, it's an elongate ovoid shape that is narrowed at one end as compared to the other end, giving a neck-like appearance, of the structure. The walls are thin, smooth, and two-layered colorless cyst wall. And inside, you have two sporoblasts with contains two sporocysts. Sporocyst na pala siya. Pag meron na siyang sporozoites, we call them as sporocysts. But while they're maturing, we call them sporoblasts. Okay, sporoblast, sporocyst, sporozoites. Nagme-memorize din ako. I don't know which comes first. No, after this, I don't know which comes first. The sporoblast, sporocyst, sporozoites. So, dapat araw-araw ko itong tinuturo para and I'm very forgetful. Mamayang gabi lang, nakalimutan ko na to. Okay, so, ulitin ko na naman. From an immature from an immature oocyst in the environment. So you have diagnostic stage, either a single, an oocyst with a single sporoblast like this one, or with a two sporoblast like this one. So this will undergo the process of sporogony. And eventually, the sporoblast will become sporocysts containing 4 sporozoites. So ito na siya. The sporulated oocysts contain 2 sporocysts, each sporocyst containing 4 crescent-shaped sporozoites. 1, 2, 3. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3, and this is 4. No, it contains 4 crescent-shaped sporozoites with a nucleus there, with a nucleus, arrowhead. Okay, so take note of the morphology, the infective stage, and the diagnostic stage. So you may observe this using wet mouth, or you may also do a tissue biopsy wherein you see oocyst, oocyst with undergoing sporulation. Class, to be perfectly honest, I don't know if this is mature or immature. So can you appreciate? Also, this said immature has sporoblast. So I cannot really say if this is an immature or a mature oocyst. It doesn't fit the description kasi of a mature oocyst. Mature oocyst with 2 sporocysts and each containing 4 sporozoids. Hindi siya mukhang crescent-shaped sporozoid. So I don't appreciate that here. No, so to be perfectly honest, I think this is an immature, I'm not sure. I think this is an immature oocyst. No? Found within the crypts of the intestinal epithelial cells. Ayan. The infection is confined to the intestinal epithelial cells and cause destruction of the surface layer of the intestine, which may lead to profuse watery diarrhea, malabsorption, markedly abnormal intestinal mucosa with short villi, hypertrophic crypts, and infiltration of the lamina propria with eosinophils, neutrophils, and round cells. This is likely the typical characteristic of cystoisospora on histopathology. Now you have the mucosa are short, hypertrophied crypts with infiltration of the lamina propria. So let's move on to epidemiology. So the disease is known as human coccidiasis. It has a worldwide distribution. Although rare, it is more common in tropical than temperate region, especially with poor sanitation. The disease is common among patients with AIDS, again, immunocompromised, immunocompetent, but also reported among those with lymphoma, leukemia, and organ transplantation. The incidence, well, 2 to 3% with AIDS are infected in Africa, in South Africa, and Haiti and Africa. It's endemic in Africa, Australia, Caribbean. Okay. So never mind that. Hindi ko naman natatanungin yung incidence na yan. Seen in both adults and children, particularly those in daycare center and mental institution. It causes severe diarrhea in infants. Human are its only known host. Both sexual and asexual process occurs in man. So it's a monocenous life cycle. Ayan, monocenous organism with a life cycle completed in one host, which is man. Transmission is ingestion of contaminated food and water containing the mature oocyst. So the infective stage. Mature oocyst. Incubation is 1 to 4 days. Clinical manifestation, again, you have a non-specific gastrointestinal infection. For people with intact immune system, this is oftentimes asymptomatic and self-limiting, but some may manifest with mild GI distress to severe dysentery, producing pale yellow and foul-smelling stool that may suggest malabsorption process. No? Symptoms usually include low-grade fever, anorexia, vomiting, general body malaise, weight loss, flatulence. No? So these are non-specific naman for GI infection. Stool contains undigested food, mucus, and charcot-laden crystals. So here, medyo predominant, no, or indigestion is a bit more pronounced here, no? Indigestion and malabsorption process. That's why if you observe the stool, you will appreciate their presence of fat-laden crystals and charcot-laden crystals. No? Among immunocompromised, self-limiting enteritis to severe diarrheal illness resembling that of cryptosporidiosis, dergiasis, cyclosporiasis. No? Among immunocompetent, it may be asymptomatic or self-limiting AGE, acute gastrointestinal tract. Examination, diagnosis, well, here stool examination. Through the demonstration of the oocyst stage in fecal smear. So diagnostic stage, are the immature or unsporulated oocysts. You may also observe charcot-laden crystals, does not contain blood or pus. So here, example of a stool exam. Here is your unsporulated immature oocyst, being the diagnostic stage of the disease. You have, because of malabsorption, you have high fecal content, like this, and the presence of charcot-laden crystals, also because of malabsorption. What else? To better demonstrate the oocyst, you may do concentration technique. Staining may be done by applying the modified Ziehl-Neelsen method, wherein the organism will, or the cyst will appear as granular red color against a green background. Other staining method includes phenylalanine, iodine, pinyon staining. No? Or string capsule enterotest or duodenal aspirate examination may also be done. Biopsy of the bowel may also be done, wherein you will see there flattened mucosa, damaged villi, infiltration of lamina propria with lymphocytes, plasma cells, and other polymorphonuclear cells or inflammatory cells. Okay, treatment for asymptomatic. It may be self-limiting, no treatment is needed. For those with mild symptoms, this may be managed with bed rest and diet, plus trimethoprim sulfamethoxazole or cotrimoxazole, combination therapy with pyrimethamine and sulfadiazine for 7 weeks. Ayan, so those are treatment for AIDS or for AIDS patient with recurring or relapsing infection. We may give maintenance dose of cotrimoxazole 1 tablet 3 times a week to prevent relapse. And then prevention. Okay, third one is Toxoplasma gondii. So dito medyo more complicated and a lot of variation. Now this is has a worldwide distribution seen in many animal species. So infective stages, so it's not only oocyst, but you may also the different stages that may cause infection are the tachyzoids, bradyzoids, and sporozoites. So tachyzoids in groups or in clones, the bradyzoids in tissue cysts. So you have a cyst there containing many bradyzoids inside, or sporozoids in oocyst. You have the oocyst and sporozoids inside. So these are the infective form of Toxoplasma gondii. This has an heterosinus life cycle. No? The definitive host is the cat, wherein the complete sexual and asexual cycles happens within the cat. No? While in man and other animals, birds and rodents are considered intermediate hosts where a sexual cycle happens. A sexual cycle within the intermediate host, while within the definitive host, you have the complete life cycle may occur. No? Here, take note, in the intestinal epithelium within the gastrointestinal tract, schizogony, gametogony, and sporogony may occur in the definitive host. So in the definitive host, the entire life cycle of schizogony, gametogony, and sporogony happens within the intestinal epithelium. For intermediate host, for the intermediate host, the asexual cycle usually happens outside of the intestine, no? More commonly in the skeletal muscles, in the heart, in the eyes, in the retina, and in the brain. No? This is where tachyzoids and bradyzoids are formed outside of the GI tract. They are usually embedded in the muscle tissues of the skeleton or skeletal muscles and cardiac muscles, even in the eyes. So the life cycle is a bit different from the first two that we have discussed. In man, so in the intermediate host, Toxoplasma gondii undergoes two stages of asexual development. So this may begin, so it usually starts with acute proliferative stage, wherein when infected with sporozoids or tachyzoids or bradyzoids, no? So this will enter the cells. The sporozoids now enter the cells and transform into a tachyzoids. So example muna, you're infected with a sporozoids. No, let's say we are infected with a sporozoids inside the oocyst. So this will enter the body of the intermediate host and will transform into tachyzoids. No, this will transform into tachyzoids. Una muna, it attaches to any types of host cell and will transform into tachyzoids. How? Through the process of endodiogeny. Now, it's a form of asexual reproduction that involves the development of two daughter cells within a mother cells, which is consumed by the offspring upon maturation. So again, so example, you are infected with the sporozoids. So in sporozoids enter the body and attaches to any cells in the body, which may attach to any cells in the body. And then from there, it will undergo endodiogeny to produce or to become a tachyzoids. So tama ba? Or mali? Baligtad ata. Tachyzoids. No, it's the tachyzoids who will undergo endodiogeny. No? No. So sporozoids enter to the cells, transform into a tachyzoids, and the tachyzoids will undergo endodiogeny. So, yun pala yun. So, yeah, so this process will go on until the host until the host develops immunity or antibodies against these tachyzoids. The tachyzoids then, so once immunity is developed, these tachyzoids then will give rise to slow multiplying bradyzoids that form cysts. No? These are found in visceral organs, including the lungs, liver, kidney, but more prevalent in the neural and muscular tissue, including the brain, eye, skeletal, and cardiac muscles. So ito yung what I've been mentioning kanina, more commonly among muscle tissues. No? So that's what happens inside the body. That's what happens inside the body of the intermediate host. So the intermediate host now can either infect another intermediate host through blood transfusion, through horizontal transmission, no blood transfusion or organ transplantation, or through vertical transmission from passage of the oocyst or the oocyst through the mother to the child, no? Or through also sporozoids or oocysts excreted through the passed out to the feces. So that's what happens within the intermediate host. While in the definitive host, what happens? Well, you have the entire life cycle. So the same thing, no? So from when a definitive host ingests a cyst, this will travel down the small intestinal tract, no? And then it will enter the schizogony phase, which is followed by a stage of endopyronomy. Also, so basically merozoites are formed, and then you have the gametocytes, which will give rise to a zygote, and then you have the oocyst. Now, eventually, the outcome, so when macrogamete is fertilized, we have the formation of unsporulated cysts, which are then expelled in the feces of the definitive host to the external environment. Sporulation, sporogony phase happens in the environment, which of course and completed within 3 to 5 days, 3 to 4 days after passage of the stool, leading now to an infection. So this oocyst now will again mature and leading to an infectious oocyst. A mature oocyst contains 2 sporocysts, each with 4 sporozoites. So somehow morphology is similar to the Cryptoisospora belli. You have a mature oocyst containing 2 sporocysts, and inside there you have the 4 sporozoites. So when ingested again by another host cell, either a definitive or intermediate host, no? So sporozoites now, when ingested, example, it's ingested by a definitive host, sporozoites penetrate the lamina propria and the schizogony begin again. So this parasite may also gain entry to the lymphatics, then spread to different organs, tissues, and fluids of the body. Only tachyzoids and bradyzoids are present in humans and other intermediate hosts. So tachyzoids and bradyzoids are not found in cats, no, in the definitive host. Schizogony and sporogony both occur in cat. Endodiogeny in the intermediate host, while endodiogeny, endopolydeny, and gamogony in the definitive host. I should take it slow or else maliligaw din ako. I might get lost. So, this is the life cycle. So basically, so in the host cell, in the definitive host cell, you see there, okay, let's start with one. Unsporulated oocysts are shed in cat's feces, and then intermediate hosts ingest the soil, water, or plants contaminated with oocysts. No? The oocysts differentiate into tachyzoids, then localize in the neural and muscle tissue, and differentiate into tissue cysts and bradyzoids. No, you also have tissue cysts. So mali itong nasa notes ko. Only tachyzoids and bradyzoids are present in humans and intermediate hosts. No, tachyzoids and bradyzoids are also formed within the definitive host cat. So when oocysts differentiate into tachyzoids, they localize in neural and muscle tissue and differentiate into tissue cyst bradyzoids. So within the muscle tissues, no, the cats. Wait, nakakalito ng life cycle. No, so it will be ingested. Okay, so this is correct. Class, sorry ha, this is correct. This phrase is correct. So nalito na ako. So in the intermediate host, ito pala yung intermediate host, the cats and the birds will ingested the oocysts. The oocysts then differentiate into tachyzoids within the muscle tissues. So when this tissue cyst is ingested by the definitive host, the cat, no, this will harbor the tissue cyst. They can also be directly infected, ingested, sporulated oocysts. No? Okay, or when this fecal oocyst is eaten by this one, the poultry animals, no, human eat undercooked meat from this animal, that tissues the harbor cysts. Yeah, you contaminate it, we get infected. Or congenital, so this is what I'm talking about. No, it can be transmitted to fecal route, blood transfusion, or to transplacental transmission. No, so ito muna ano na to. This column muna here. So when ingested by pig and cattle, no, the cyst will differentiate into tachyzoids and bradyzoids within the tissues of the muscles. When this is ingested by man, now human ingest food or water contaminated with cat feces or exposed to a contaminated environmental sample, so you'll get infected. Or it can also be transmitted from man to blood transfusion or organ transplantation from infected hosts, or through vertical transmission, transplacental transmission, which may lead to congenital infection. This can be detected through Toxoplasma gondii DNA in the amniotic fluid. In humans, the parasites form tissue cysts, more commonly in the skeletal muscle, myocardium, brain, and eyes. Diagnosis is typically achieved by serology. Now, although tissue cysts can be observed in other state specimens. Oh my God, definitely ito na ako. So, take note of the infective stage and diagnostic stage. Ilan lang yung diagnostic stage natin? Our diagnostic stage is basically the observation of the oocyst with many bradyzoids. So, like this one. The morphology, let's describe first the morphology. The tachyzoids are rapidly dividing trophozoites seen during the acute phase of the infection. It's crescent shape, approximately 2 by 6 micrometers with pointed anterior or conoidal end and a rounded posterior end. Spherical to ovoid the nucleus spherical to ovoid that is usually nearer the blunt end, such as this one. Okay. No, you have a nucleus towards one end, you have a pointed conoidal end, and other end is rounded. No. So again, crescent shape with a conoidal or pointed end and another rounded end at one conoidal or pointed at one end and more rounded at the other end with a spherical nucleus, not towards the at one end, not or nearer the blunt end of the trophozoites. No? And here you have the small cyst. This is the cyst. Enclosing numerous bradyzoids that have terminal nucleus. So a much larger magnification. Now you have the cyst with many, or this is a bradyzoids, numerous bradyzoids enclosed in a cyst. You have the fast-growing tachyzoids. When antibodies are produced, this will give rise to slow-growing bradyzoids enclosed within a cyst. Okay. While the unsporulated cysts that are passed out from the cat feces are described as 10 to 12 micrometer. Wall has 2 layers with 2 sporocysts, each of which contains 4 sporozoites. This is already the mature oocyst. Can be shed for 1 to 3 weeks. Sporulation in the environment takes 1 to 5 days. While the tissue cyst, ito ang tissue cyst. This is the tissue cyst with many bradyzoids inside. It's 100 micrometer in diameter, containing 50 to several thousands of bradyzoids. The cyst wall is eosinophilic. Usually weekly. What is PAS? Periodic acid shift. No, they're usually weekly periodic positive, while the organism or the bradyzoids within the cyst are strongly PAS FAS positive, found in the CNS, skeletal, and heart muscles and retina during the chronic phase of the infection. There are pseudocysts may be also observed. These are cysts containing proliferating tachyzoids in tissue sections taken from patients suffering from acute infection. So unsporulated, I think this is still immature unsporulated oocyst. Okay, this is the ultrastructure of a tachyzoids. You see here the tissue cyst, inside there the many bradyzoids, and here an ultrastructure of the sporulated or mature oocyst of Toxoplasma gondii with 2 sporozoites, and each sporozoids contain, or with 2 sporocysts, each containing 4 sporozoites. Now, the A is unsporulated, so here it's an unsporulated cyst. The B is sporulated oocyst with 2 sporocysts. Now, and 4 with each having 4 sporozoites inside. Okay, are we good? The disease is known as toxoplasmosis. It has a cosmopolitan distribution. And although the infection is quite common, the disease is rare. It's endemic worldwide in humans and in domestic animals, domestic and wild animals. Determination of prevalence of infection is mainly based on serodiagnostic, which is not available in the Philippines due to the lack of demand. No? But there was a study by Cross and Basaca Sevilla in 1984 that showed a prevalence of 2.4% of the population is seropositive for Toxoplasma gondii. Among pigs, 19% prevalence, and rats, 8.1% prevalence of positive titer. Definitive host are the cats, while intermediate hosts include man, animal, birds, and rodents. So in transmission, it's said through horizontal transmission via the oocyst, not via the oocyst, consuming food or water contaminated with mature oocyst, which were shed in the environment by cat's feces, or by eating undercooked meat of animals harboring the tissue cyst containing tachyzoids and bradyzoids, or through horizontal transmission via the tissue cyst, no? Through blood transfusion or organ transplantation, or vertical transmission of the oocyst through transplacental transfer from mother to the fetus. Incubation period is 2 to 14 days. There are 2 forms of Toxoplasma gondii, 2 clinical forms of Toxoplasma gondii. These are the congenital toxoplasmosis, which were transferred to the mother, from the mother to the newborn, and the acquired toxoplasmosis. The congenital toxoplasmosis is often severe and even fatal, manifesting the so-called Sabin syndrome, which consists of chorioretinitis, diba? Sabi ko, it can affect the eye, the brain, causing cerebral calcification, convulsion, or psychomotor disturbance, hydrocephalus, and microcephalus. No? Infection of this can also lead to stillbirth and abortion during the first trimester. Death of the infected newborn is usually from anemia and pneumonia. There are cases when clinical manifestation may not be apparent during the neonatal period, but will appear later in the childhood. So most babies will just harbor the infection and grow up asymptomatically until such time when their immune system suddenly becomes suppressed. There could be a reactivation of chronic toxoplasmosis. The other form is acquired toxoplasmosis, wherein when the infection is transferred through the oral route or through bone marrow transplantation or blood transmission, no, you acquire the toxoplasmosis. There are two forms: the mild lymphatic form, which is the more common and less severe one, and then you have the acute fulminating disseminated infection, wherein most organ system are involved. So for mild lymphatic form, it resembles infectious mononucleosis characterized by cervical and axillary lymphadenopathies, malaise, body pain, and irregular low-grade fever. But for disseminated infection, ayan, ang dami mo ng sakit. You have encephalitis, myocarditis, focal pneumonia, retinochondritis, hepatitis, and so on. Okay? Diagnosis is through demonstration of oocysts in fecal smear. So if you have fecal smear, you can only observe there the oocysts. You cannot observe the tachyzoids and trophozoites in a fecal smear, no? Or the more diagnostic form is doing a biopsy of the lymph node, bone marrow, the spleen, brain, and other tissue that will demonstrate the tissue cyst with many brodyssoid inside. Now, serological tests are also used to detect the antibodies. A seroconversion to a positive titer or fourfold increase is indicative of an infection. Polymerase chain reaction. Also another molecular imaging there. So, but basically, it's screening is demonstration of oocysts in fecal smear. Diagnostic or more definitive diagnosis is biopsy of the lymph nodes through observation or demonstration of the tissue cyst or of the cyst containing brodyssoids within the tissues. Particularly the skeletal muscles tissue. Treatment, those asymptomatic and with mild illness recover from toxoplasmosis without treatment. But those who are immunocompromised, this can be treated with combination of pyrimethamine and sulfadiazine for 1 month. This can keep toxoplasma under control, but will not kill it. However, you have adverse reaction towards pyrimethamine, such as it can lower the blood count in most people. That is why this should be given with folinic acid. Sulfadiazine, on the other hand, may also have adverse reactions such as serious allergic reactions. So to prevent this, you may give steroids to the patient. So this regimen can be substituted with clindamycin, azithromycin, clarithromycin, dapsone, or atovaquone. Among immunocompromised, prophylaxis with cotrimoxazole may also be recommended. And then you have prevention. Ay, no? Humihina na rin ang energy ko. Mahaba pa. Until anong time tayo dito? Until 4 o'clock? Ha?
Yes po, Doc.
Huwag kayong mag-alala, hindi naman natin tatapusin hanggang 4. Wait lang. Mag-stretch muna tayo. so this is more or less similar to Toxoplasma, but the difference is the intermediate and definitive host is man. If in Toxoplasma, man is only an intermediate host, for Sarcocystis, man is both the definitive and intermediate host or of the infection. No? So what else? Okay, so it's a wide variety of animal. It causes disease among wide variety of animals such as birds, reptiles, and mammals, and even snakes. No, this is reported in 1843 by Meschker as white Mishker. Tinanong ko na yung pronunciation nito I forgot na naman. This is a German, I think this is a German surname, Mishker. As white thread-like cysts known as Mishker tubules found in striated muscles of house mouse. It is renamed in 1899 as Sarcocystis mischeriana. Pasensya na kayo sa mga pronunciation ko. Sometimes I don't know how to pronounce them. Or at least how to properly pronounce them. So this species was debated whether it is a protozoan or a fungus. The debate was resolved when bradyszoids were recovered in the Sarcocyst. No? Sarcocysts were under the electron microscope wherein they were found out to possess organelles similar to other apicoplexan parasites such as Toxoplasma and Eimeria. So there are numerous 130 recognized species under Sarcocystis. But I suppose the more common ones are Sarcocystis hominis found in cattle, Sarcocystis sui hominis in pig, and Sarcocystis lindemani. For the first two species, human serves as the definitive host, but on occasional also acts as an intermediate host for the third species. So it's more or less similar to Toxoplasma, the life cycle, but here the mature trophozoites or Rhamnis corpuscles are described as banana-shaped. The anterior end is slightly pointed and the posterior end is rounded. So I don't have an image of the trophozoites. No? While the sporocysts, they contain 4 sporozoites and a distinct refractile residual bodies. Sporocysts from Sarcocystis hominis are first excreted 14 to 18 days after ingesting the beef, while for Sarcocystis sui hominis, the sporocysts are excreted 11 to 13 days after ingesting the pork. So here you have an image of an immature oocyst with a single sporoblast, and which will eventually mature and form sporocysts containing 4 sporozoites. And here on your right side of your screen are an image of Sarcocyst embedded within the muscle tissue seen on biopsy. So notice the bradyszoites within each sarcocyst. So sarcocyst and bradyszoites inside within the tissues. So a magnified image, sarcocyst in muscle tissue biopsy, showing many bradyszoites, each within each sarcocyst. So the life cycle, it's somehow similar to Toxoplasma gondii. The infective stages includes the trophozoites, the sarcosis, and the sporulated oocysts that can be passed out in the feces of an infective definitive host, which can dog or human, and ingested by a susceptible intermediate host such as cow or pig. So as the infective stage travels down the intestines, sporocyst walls separate and releases four sporozoites that migrate to the gut epithelium to the endothelial cells. So take note, now the sporozoites that are released migrate through the gut epithelium or migrate from the gut epithelium to endothelial cells in small arteries where they undergo first two generation of schizogony or metagony process or asexual reproduction. So this is equivalent to the acute proliferative stage producing pachyzoids, no, which may last for 15 to 16 days after ingestion of the sporocyst. No? Merozoites emerge from the second generation merons and enter mononuclear cells where they develop. Subsequent generation of merozoites develop in the direction of the blood flow to arterioles, capillary, venules, and veins. Third, asexual generation appear as multinucleate schizons in capillaries throughout the body. So they disseminate, they travel throughout the bodies now during the schizogony phase. Merozoites at this stage form metrocytes and insist in the muscle, forming sarcosis and or the Meschere tubules. No? So now this is the chronic cystic phase. The sarcocysts begin with unicellular bodies containing a single metrocyte. Numerous metrocytes accumulate within the sarcocyst, increasing it in size through repeated asexual multiplication. Metrocytes give rise to infectious crescent-shaped bradyzoids. About 2.5 months after infection, sarcocysts are already mature and are able to infect the definitive host. So once the intermediate host is eaten by the definitive host, the parasites undergo sexual reproduction within the intestines. The sarcocysts are ingested and the wall is digested. Bradyzoids become motile. Active bradyzoids enter intestinal cells and change into microgamete and female gamete, and fusion results into formation of oocyst. Eventually, ultimately, it will become an oocyst. So let's look at here the stage. Mas madaling intindihin to. So from where should we begin? A sporocyst and thin-walled oocyst pass out from the feces of the infected host. The sporocyst then is ingested by the cows and pig. No? Sporocysts rupture, releasing sporozoites that enter the endothelial cells of blood vessels and undergo schizogony. No? Endothelial cells and then distributed throughout the body. The schizons then will rupture, releasing the merozoites. The merozoites penetrate the muscles and develop into cysts with bradyzoids. So now you have the cyst with bradyzoids, the sporocyst with many bradyzoids embedded, no, to the muscle tissues. When this is ingested from undercooked meat, you repeat the cycle again. Within the definitive host, you also have the sexual cycle. So some of the merozoites, no, will enter the sexual phase of the life cycle. Okay, so maybe you can better understand this if you study it on your own. No, so I'm having difficulty understanding it. No, so but maybe now on your own you can better understand it. The disease, the prevalence data often comes from case reports only. No findings from case reports, as it's very rare. Now, human infection is considered rare with less than 100 published cases of invasive disease. Reports came from these different countries. No? In the Philippines, muscle of water buffaloes, cattle, pigs, and goats revealed Sarcocystis cruzi species. So infective and diagnostic stages, you have the oocyst in feces passed out from the feces, or the sarcocyst within the muscle tissue. So those are they are considered both the infective and diagnostic stage of sarcocysts. Man and dog are the definitive host. Intermediate host includes the pig and the cattle, transmitted through consumption of undercooked and uncooked or undercooked meat of the intermediate host containing the sarcocyst, or consumption of food or water contaminated with feces containing the oocyst. Incubation period is 9 to 39 days. Now, there are some studies where volunteers ingested infected beef. Symptoms appeared within just 3 to 6 hours after eating. There are clinical manifestation. There are two forms, the invasive form and the intestinal form. The invasive form presents with vasculitis and myositis. Why? How? Di ba remember this infection can the sporocyst ruptures really sporozoites that enter endothelial cells of blood vessels. So yeah, that's why you may expect vasculitis and myositis. While the intestinal form, which is the more common form, presents with nausea, abdominal pain, diarrhea, anorexia, vomiting, dyspnea, and tachycardia. While normally mild and lasting under 48 hours, the intestinal form may occasionally be severe or life-threatening. All symptoms were transient and lasted about 36 hours, but some report may last for as long as 5 years. May be associated with acute fever, myalgia, bronchospasm, pruritic rashes, lymphadenopathy, subcutaneous nodules with concurrent eosinophilia, elevated ESR, and elevated CK levels. You have segmental necrotizing also can also be a sequel of the infection. Diagnosis, the presumptive diagnosis is based on medical history, based on symptoms and a recent history of consumption of raw and undercooked meal. Definitive diagnosis is biopsy of an infected muscle showing the sarcocyst. Sarcocyst, hominis sarcocysts are microscopic in cattle muscle. The wall is up to 6 millimeter thick, appears radially straightened from biliar protrusion that are up to 7 micrometer long. The other species, Sarcocystic sui hominis, have sarcocysts which are macroscopic in pig muscles with thick wall with velar protrusion of up to 13 micrometers long. Okay, so molecular imaging, PCR, may distinguish hominis from fusiformis and fusicercosis and oocysts. So what else? Stool examination is the recovery of sporocyst in feces, but may require several stool exam and concentration technique. Treatment, because asymptomatic treatment is rarely required. There have been, mostly, these are asymptomatic. And if it's asymptomatic, usually self-limiting. There have been no published trials, so treatment is empirical using albendazole, metronidazole, or cotrimoxazole. Corticosteroids also have been used for symptomatic relief. And then prevention. So quickly na lang, the last two, Cyclospora cayetanensis. Okay, so this organism was thought to be a member of cyanobacteria because it showed photosynthetic organelles and autofluorescing particles characterized by blue-green algae. It was originally called Cyanobacterium-like body. So the life cycle is generally the same, no? Has a monocinous life cycle similar to Cryptosporidium and Cystoisospora belli. So there is this one host for one host that will exhibit intermediate and there's only one host, no? Ayan, nawawala na ako. One host that is considered intermediate and definitive host. So you have a single host for the entire direct life cycle. No, but the difference here, one, unsporulated oocyst is passed out through the stool, and that unsporulated cyst undergoes sporulation in the environment to contaminate, no, more of vegetables, fruits, no, rather than meat, no, rather than animals. So ingestion of what contaminated water and this common food items, no? So when ingested containing the oocyst, so that's how the disease is formed, no? So hindi na natin mabasahin yan. These are more or less the same, no? The disease is known as cyclosporidiasis. It's mainly a human disease. No animal reservoir have been found. Kaya, these are the more commonly implicated food items. So, again, no animal reservoir. So, you don't get it from eating meat. Instead, eating mga contaminated what? Raspberry, leafy vegetables, lettuce, basil. So yeah, that's where you get this infection. So in the Philippines, no, a study of diarrheic stools from children in 2005 at the College of Public Health of UP revealed a 3.1 prevalence of Cyclospora cayetanensis using safranin stained heated in a microwave. No, so definitive dose is man transmission, ingestion of contaminated water and food with incubation of 1 to 7 days. You have non-specific gastrointestinal manifestation with malaise, low-grade fever occurring 12 to 24 hours after exposure. Causing chronic and intermittent watery diarrhea, which occurs early in the infection and may alternate with constipation. No, parang typhoid. Diarrhea may continue for 6 to 7 weeks with 6 or more stool per day. Other symptoms include fatigue, anorexia, weight loss, and so on. No? Infection are usually self-limiting and immunity may result with repeated infection. No death has been associated with this disease. Acute and chronic inflammation with blunting and atrophy of the villi and crypt hyperplasia can be observed, no, which is common which is a common finding among all GI infections. But this disease is more severe in immunocompromised infection. Diagnosis is through direct microscope using various concentration technique. Ziehl-Neelsen will show oocysts that are acid-fast and stain red, or autofluorescent under fluorescent microscope. And under this, they are filled blue or green circles. No? And ano pa? What else? Treatment, limiting. Treatment is necessary if the symptoms are mild. The only effective drug is cotrimoxazole, BID, for 7 days. There's no alternate treatment if patients are unable to take sulfamethoxazole. HIV patient may need long-term suppression. With this treatment, oocysts will disappear from the stool a few days after treatment, but recurrence is noted in about 40% of patients within 1 to 3 months post-treatment and then prevention. Oh, kanina lang. And finally, the last one. Blastocystis homini, previously considered as a yeast, recently classified as a protozoan, is strictly an aerobic colonic protozoan in human. There are 3 morphologies of the sporocyst. No? Like, so this one, evacuated form with a large central vacuole which pushes the cytoplasm and nucleus to the periphery, multiplies by binary fission, or you may have the amyloid form, the amoeboid form, containing polymorphic cells, slightly larger than the vacuolated form, and multiplies by sporulation. And you have the granular form. So let's look at the life cycle. Well, again, it's more or less similar to the previous ones. You have just a monocinus life cycle. The thick-walled oocyst present in stool is transmitted through contaminated food and water. The cyst infects epithelial cells of the digestive tract and multiply asexually. The vacuolar form of the parasites give origin to multivacuolar and amoeboid form. The multivacuolar develops into a precyst that gives origin to a thin-walled cyst thought to be responsible for auto-infection. So similar to Cryptosporidium parvum, you can also have auto-infection with blastocystis. The amoeboid form, on the other hand, gives origin to a precyst which develop into a thick-walled cyst by schizogony. The thick-walled cyst, it is what is being passed out to the feces. So, okay. So, almost the same. The disease is found worldwide with the prevalence rate of 58%, so that's quite high, transmitted through the fecal-oral route. Studies suggest possible zoonotic isolates with frequent animal-to-human and human-to-animal interaction. It causes traveler's diarrhea, rectal bleeding, irritable bowel syndrome. It displays extreme genetic diversity, which is indicative of the pathogenicity of the organism, at least 7 zoonotic subtypes. And cysts can survive in water for 19 days at normal temperature. Manifestation, the clinical manifestation, associated with diarrhea, abdominal pain, nausea, vomiting, fever. You have to see it's non-specific gastrointestinal infection. More than half of the patients with infection are immunocompromised. It's considered as a common inhabitant of the human intestinal tract. Heavy infection causes pathology, and so on. However, pathology is still debatable. Diagnosis: stool exam stained with Gemsta, no? Through the recovery of the thick-walled oocyst. Treatment with metronidazole or iodoquinol. And finally, prevention. Oh, I'm tired. Are you tired? Diba? Ang hirap. Okay, that's the last slide. Well, I hope. Well, I'm still not happy heard it, but it's better than kaninang umaga. Okay, so we still have 1 hour before dismissal.